What's up everybody, this is Danny, and today I'm going to be bringing you the full review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. You're probably saying, yep, it's about time because it's been out for about 3 months now, but the good thing about that is I've had extensive time with this phone, and I think I can give you some great insight on what it's like to use this phone as a daily driver. So there are a ton of Galaxy Note 4 reviews out there, so I just wanted to do a little something different. Well, actually just kind of go back to my roots. I was lucky enough to have 2 Galaxy Note 4s here, so I decided to shoot this entire review with the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 in 4K resolution with a tripod and a stabilizer. So just think about this as just one long 4K video sample. So let's get right into it with the full review. The first thing that I want to touch on is the build quality, because the first thing that I always complain about when it comes to Samsung devices is the build quality, because previous phones were made of plastic and it just felt really cheap in the hand, but this time it's the total opposite of that, and I think they really got it right this time, pretty much squashing everything that I hated about the Note 3's design, and they took that ugly stitching off the back. It just looks a lot classier now, and outside is all metal with that nice chamfered edge. It feels really good in the hand, and it's not as slippery as some of the other metal built phones out there due to the mix of the metal and plastic back. It feels very sturdy, and even though that the S Pen is not completely flush with the body, I don't have many complaints about the design. And also props to Samsung for sticking with the removable backplate. You'll find a slightly upgraded 3220 mAh battery with the micro SD card slot for cheap, easy expansion, and your micro SIM card slot. Here's a closer look at those chamfered edges, and it looks extremely nice as I mentioned before. And if you flip it to the front, you will notice the 2.5D glass, so it is rounded a little bit where that glass meets the chamfered edge. But the only problem that I had with this is that the edge can feel kind of sharp on your fingers when you're navigating through the home screen or the menus. I mean, it feels a little bit abrasive. It's nothing huge, but you do notice it. So if you've used something like an iPhone 6 Plus before, where the body is also curved along with the glass, I think it feels a little bit better on the 6 Plus. But really, this is just nitpicking when it comes to the hardware, because it is just that fantastic. I have to say, Samsung really impressed me here with the design and the build of the Note 4. So this is one of the best built phones out there right now. We can't talk about hardware until we bring up this 5.7-inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display, and it can only be summed up in one sentence: best display in mobile. There's really not much else I can say about it. It's super sharp, it has amazing contrast, the colors are vibrant, super inky blacks, and it's even viewable in direct sunlight, and that's awesome because most AMOLED displays have a huge problem with that. The screen has great viewing angles with minimal color shifting, and I just cannot say enough good things about it. The display is so good, I think it's literally in a class of its own. I think most people that have seen this screen in person will agree that this is the best display on the market right now. To talk about everyday use of this phone, then we have to talk about the software, and it's going to be a very familiar one to anybody that's used a Samsung phone before, because this is their TouchWiz skin on top of Android 4.4. Now, the Android 5.0 update is right around the corner, so by the time that you watch this video, the Note 4 might already be on Lollipop, so things could be a little bit different. So if you know me or follow me at all, then you know that I'm not the hugest fan of TouchWiz, because I still think it's too heavily skinned, and there are a lot of features that are implemented that most people just do not use. So even though that this is the most toned down version of TouchWiz that I've ever used, and it's a little bit easier to use, I still think that the menu system is too complicated, it's too convoluted, it's just everywhere, and it just needs better organization. And I think that stripping down TouchWiz and simplifying it will make it much easier for the average end user, and rumors are out there that this will happen for the next version of TouchWiz, so I'm crossing my fingers for that. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, let me give you a few examples. Even though that the heart rate sensor and oxygen saturation sensor are cool, and it's cool to show off to your friends a few times and they may be impressed, I think it's really pointless. I think something like this is left best for a wearable. So if you're taking your heart rate, I think it's much easier and more practical, let's say on a smartwatch. Because I mean, nobody's really going to be carrying around a huge smartphone in their hand with their finger on the back of the phone while you're running, and a lot of the times it's not even all that accurate. So I think this is one thing in my opinion that is pointless to have, so I hope to see this disappear on future hardware. Now the fingerprint scanner is here, carried over from the Galaxy S5, and it still has the same scanning implementation where you swipe down over the home button, and while it's a little bit better and a little bit more accurate, it's still nowhere near as good as the implementation on Apple's Touch ID, and it can be annoying to use with one hand, so I found myself not even using the fingerprint scanner at all. So hopefully we'll see a revision of the fingerprint scanner in the next generation. But in saying that, the Note 4 gets a lot of things right as well, because it's really taking advantage of that 5.7-inch display. This is something on software that other manufacturers just cannot get right. I mean, for example, the Nexus 6 almost has a 6-inch display, and it takes absolutely no advantage of that large real estate. So here you get true split screen multitasking, and it feels flawless. So if you want to check your Twitter timeline and surf the web at the same time, you can do that, and it just feels natural on this device. It's super smooth, and that's largely because of the great internals of the Note 4. It's being powered by the Snapdragon 805 quad-core processor with 3GB of RAM and the Adreno 420 GPU, at least here in the United States. I have used the Exynos version as well, and it performs good, but I have to say that the Exynos version did have a little more hiccups on a day-to-day basis. But as a whole, it's been a very good experience. There are a few TouchWiz hangups and lockups here and there that I've experienced, but for the most part, it's been a fairly smooth experience, so I don't think you will be disappointed with the performance of this phone. Even though this is the Note series, I must confess I'm not a huge fan of the pen, and I never have been. Even with the prior Note devices, I never used the pen very much, and I have to say the S Pen is slightly improved here. It's really easy to copy and paste large blocks of text, and there are a few new added features to the pen as well. So if you're the creative type and you like to brainstorm on your mobile device and use a Note 4 as a scrapbooking tool, the software makes it really easy for you to get all of your ideas and put them into one place. So I can see this being useful for the right person, and some people buy this series solely for the pen itself. But just being real, I don't find myself using the pen very much at all. Alright, so let's move on to something that everybody asks me about on a daily basis, and that's how good is the battery life on this phone. And with this 3220 mAh battery, it's just a small increment over the Note 3. And this thing has to power that Snapdragon 805 processor and that power-hungry Quad HD display. But I am happy to say that even with all this new technology on board, the battery life is about the same as it was on the Note 3. Now this is where I did my super heavy testing, where I was trying to drain the battery by streaming and playing as many games as I can. I got about 3.5 hours of screen on time, and that's actually really good for this test. But with normal use, I was getting anywhere between 5 and 6 hours of on screen time, so I call that an all-day battery. So while it's not the best battery that I've tested this year, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the battery life with moderate use. What this good battery life means is that you'll be able to play more games on this Adreno 420 GPU coupled with the Snapdragon 805 processor, and it performs very well. It has no problems crunching through graphically intensive games. I have not run into a game that it couldn't handle yet, so no hiccups, smooth frame rates, so I think gamers will be very happy to hear that. I was also able to enjoy more multimedia, and if you know me at all, you knew I had to catch up on my favorite YouTube videos, and it looks phenomenal on this display. But I have one complaint about the multimedia experience, and that is this tiny single speaker on the back. And I have to say, this is not the highest quality speaker in the world. Now, this is not the worst speaker I've ever heard, but it's easily covered by the back of your hand or a non-solid surface if you lay it there. I just wish that it would have implemented those front-firing stereo speakers like some of the other manufacturers have done, so I'm hoping to see that on the next generation of the Note series. So you can solve that by just using headphones, but I think this is one of the things that was missing to make it an awesome multimedia experience. The last thing I want to touch on is the new 16 megapixel camera sensor on the back, and this year it has a huge bonus, and that is the optical image stabilization built in, and it works extremely well. The focus is fast and is spot on most of the time, and the shutter speed is nice and quick, so you won't have a problem with that. And there are a ton of modes here like you've seen on other Galaxy phones before, and if you need more modes, you can just download more. Now, if you dive into the settings, you do have some manual control over ISO and exposure, and what's awesome is that it has support for 4K video, which we can talk about right now because you have been seeing this the entire video. I took the Note 4 along with me on my Singapore trip, and I was meaning to do a full 4K cinematic video sample like I usually do, but I just could not get around to it. But I decided to take some footage off of my balcony of the hotel room with a tripod and a stabilizer, and what you're seeing here is untouched and ungraded 4K video capture from the 16 megapixel camera, and it is extremely sharp. The colors are accurate, it has surprisingly good dynamic range, and I'm just impressed with this footage. I mean, editing this video, it was just mind-blowing. I had to do a double take on a lot of this footage because it just looks so fantastic. I could not believe this was coming from a cell phone camera. Where the camera gets into a little trouble is when you go indoors or go into low light situations. You can see here that the white balance is off. You can see some noise creeping in, but the one good thing is that I'm holding this camera with one hand while my son is going crazy. So you can see how great the optical image stabilization is. It's very smooth, so definitely an A+ on the OIS. When it comes to stills, I think this is probably the best Android camera that's out there right now. It tends to get a little cool when you go into macro shots, but for the most part, it's got great dynamic range. It's sharp, it's got great depth of field as well. So I really like this camera when it comes to just day-to-day shots. The optical image stabilization, I think, helps for you to get more consistent shots, so I enjoyed that as well. When it comes to low light photography, I think it does a pretty good job. I took this fantastic panorama when I was in Singapore. I was pretty impressed with that. And it's not as good as the iPhone 6 Plus, I think, in low light conditions, but I think it rivals it in many situations. But I can see that's really aggressive when it comes to the processing as well when it comes to low light conditions. And I think the colors are slightly off when you take it indoors, just like it was on video. And I took this shot about 6 times when I was in Atlanta, and you can see a lot of noise here. It just doesn't look that good when it comes to extreme low light, so it suffers from pretty much the same thing most cell phone cameras do. And I think even with this minor quirks, you will not be disappointed with the Note 4 camera. Let's sum all of this up. So I have to say the Note 4 is probably one of the best choices when it comes to Android right now because it has all of the things that I'm looking for in a phone. It's got superior build quality, top-notch internals, and one of the best screens, or if not the best screen on the market right now, and has a great 16 megapixel camera with 4K recording, and it is consistent on performance. So if you're looking for a phone that you won't be disappointed in and you're looking to sign a 2-year contract, then I think this is a no-brainer. TouchWiz may or may not be a problem for you, but you can always throw on the Google Experience Launcher like I did to make it a little more like stock Android, and I also think it helps with the performance a little bit. So what do you guys think about the Note 4? Do you have one, or are you in the market for one? Let me know in the comment section below, and let me know what you think about it, for I think it's a great device. I think it's the best Samsung device that's ever been made, and I think it's got me excited for their future smartphones because they're going in the right direction. I mean, they even included the IR blaster, which most manufacturers are starting to get away from, and I think this is a package that is extremely hard to beat right now. I think this is one of the best choices in Android, and I for sure recommend this phone. I say this is the best phablet, if you want to call it that. So sound off in the comment section below and voice your opinion, and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.